Yo, what's going on? I'm Cody from Big Beaver Cards. Today we're going to be looking at 1986-87's best NHL rookies, Anthony Viatro. So like I was saying, we've been looking back at rookies from all the years in hockey, from 1979 all the way till, well, this one, 1986-87. We also started looking at NFL rookies from 1980. Go back and take a look at the previous videos. Subscribe to the channel. But for now, let's jump right into it. All right. So, unfortunately, this is going to be one of those lists like we've seen. One of those lists like, well, I mean, I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy it, but let's bask in what is a very large honorable mentions list. Now, a lot of these guys in the NHL were very effective throughout very long careers. None of them are going to be your prototypical Hall of Famers. They're not going to demand a whole lot of money, but a lot of them do have certain niche characteristics or things they did in their career that make them stand out. So let's just take a look at some of the honorable mentions from 86, 87 before we jump into a very, very short list. Starting it off, we see Gary Suter there up in the left-hand corner. Defenseman, played a long time with the Calgary Flames. Gary might be most well known for cross-checking Paul Kariya in the throat. That's probably not a great thing because Gary Suter was actually a really good two-way defenseman. He was a good offensive defenseman, fairly good defensively as well, could cycle the puck around. Playing with Al MacInnis, Suter was really, really effective. But unfortunately, it was such a prolific attack on one of the game's best players at the time that Gary Suter definitely labeled a bit of a cheap player after that. We move on, just going to the right of him, we see a goaltender who started his career with the New York Rangers, played really well for the Rangers, ended up there until Richter really took over and became the dominant number one starter, as Van Beesbroek was a beast the whole time, but then went to Florida as an expansion team and ended up taking the Florida Panthers with Scott Mellanby and the Rats and all that all the way to a Stanley Cup final, losing to Uwe Krupp and the Colorado Avalanche in Florida's inaugural season in the NHL, which was quite amazing, quite the run, and a run that the Florida Panthers have never been able to replicate, and they did that all in the back of John Van Beesbroek. We see to the right of him, Russ Courtney. Obviously, him and his brother Jeff played in the NHL for a long time. Russ more known for his time with, I would say probably the Montreal Canadiens first, but he played with the North Stars quite a bit at the end of his career, the Stars. Russ Courtney, heck of a goal scorer, put up 20 goals perpetually, always a pest, great shot around the net. The guy was a really good offensive player, defensive skills could use a little bit of polishing, but you get him out there on a second line pairing, and he could definitely fly with the puck. There was no question about that. To the right of him, another Maple Leaf, and a guy who played a career with the Maple Leafs, maybe a Maple Leafs fan's favorite Maple Leaf. If you grew up in this era, it would be pretty tough to dispute. A guy who could do everything: score, pass, lead, check. He set the tone on the ice, never a night off. If there's anybody on this honorable mention list that might sneak into the Hall of Fame based on pure character on the ice, the impression he left, the impression he left on his teammates, the people that competed against him, I think Wendell Clark is, we've seen guys on these lists that I've done before, and I think Wendell Clark kind of surmises that same thing. He is the perennial hockey player, a guy you would love to have on your franchise. The Toronto Maple Leafs were lucky enough to have him for a very, very long time, and I would say he's the squeaker in this honorable mentions list, him and Van Beesbroek for sure. To the right of him, we see a PSA graded 9 of a goaltender who was great in Buffalo. Goaltender pairing, him and Darren Pupa, actually really, really good in the early 90s, but maybe most known for an injury that took place on the ice, a fairly horrific injury. Throat got slit by a skate, slit his jugular vein. It ended up, don't go searching Clint Malarchuk. If you're young or you have a squeamish stomach, don't go to Google Images and look up Clint Malarchuk, because it's pretty graphic. I mean, he survived. It was lucky It was very, very close. Like I said, it was a horrific injury that took place. Lucky so many medical professionals in top tier sports, all right there. But he lost a lot of blood very, very quickly. Terrible injury. Clint Malarchuk's career never really bounced back from that. But before that, Clint Malarchuk, heck of a goaltender. Dirk Graham, you see him here in the bottom left corner, obviously a pitcher with the North Stars, most known for a significant amount of time with the Chicago Blackhawks through the 90s with that Blackhawk team with Roenick and Chelios and Tony Amonte, and Dirk Graham definitely the leader on that team. Dirk Graham, the captain, and honorable mention here as a player who very gritty, couple of Selke trophies. To the right of him, we see a Detroit Red Wing who didn't play in Detroit for very long, but has some very memorable goals for my team in the early 90s and late 80s against Boston in the Stanley Cup Finals. Take that, Andy Moog. Peter Clima, who we traded Jimmy Carson, brought back Peter Clima, brought back a couple of guys. Excellent moving for us. No complaints from me. Peter Clima definitely served his purpose in the 88 and 90 Stanley Cup Finals. And Peter Clima will forever be remembered in Edmonton very, very fondly. Another guy going to be remembered very fondly, I think, across all of hockey. Not so much for what he did on the ice. To the right of Peter Clima is Ray Ferraro, who now very consistent. Ray Ferraro was an amazing hockey player who did all the things right. Not a large guy by any stretch of the imagination. Very elusive, very consistent, goal scorer, great hands. But after hockey became a broadcaster and a very, very astute broadcaster, one who really holds his own with some of the best broadcasting professionals in all of professional sports. So I think Ray Ferraro might potentially sneak his way into the Hall of Fame on the back of a very, very solid NHL career and a remarkable broadcasting career, much like we spoke about in a previous video with a guy like Kelly Hrudey. Craig McTavish to the right of Ray Ferraro, longtime Edmonton Oilers coach, executive. Mac T, the last guy to play in the NHL without a helmet. Craig McTavish, just a great center, won a lot of face-offs, killed a lot of penalties, was here in Edmonton for a very long time, played a bit in St. Louis, the Rangers, this, that, the other thing. Can't go wrong with Mac T. You're never going to hear a complaint. He wasn't the greatest coach. He was not our greatest executive. It's true, our team did have some hiccups under Mac T, but you know, as a player, there's nothing you could take away from anything he did on the ice. He's a role player, and he brought his lunch pail to work every day, and he punched in and punched out. Never skipped a shift, this guy. Tough as nails for sure. And beside him, another guy, tough as nails, basically played a lifetime with the New Jersey Devils, eventually becoming their captain through a lot of their Stanley Cup success in the 90s with Scott Stevens and Scott Niedermayer and Brodeur, is John McClain. And all the way on the end, the final of the honorable mentions, a goal-scoring machine with the New York Islanders, the Toronto Maple Leafs a couple of times, and the Chicago Blackhawks coming down the wing, burning down the wing, super fast with a lightning shot. Man, this guy could let it go and bury it top shelf. Full speed, Steve Thomas. What a goal scorer. Steve Thomas was a force. And that, for 1986-87, are your honorable mentions. Again, we're looking at all O-Pee-Chee cards. Even though Topps cards have the exact same cards, the O-Pee-Chee stuff does hold a little bit of value over Topps all the time in these series that mirror each other. Obviously, as we get closer and closer to that 1990 series, where we're going to introduce Upper Deck and Pro Set and Score, and then we're going to start to see some real variables. But for now, number one, there's only one. There is only one. This is my favorite hockey player of all time. 1986-87, number one on the list, number one in your hearts, the greatest goaltender ever, as voted on by the writers in the NHL in 2003 or 2004, inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2006. Patrick Roy, the Montreal Canadiens. This card from 1986-87 is number 53. You see an example of a PSA 10 to the left, which we all should have one or two of these in our. You don't need to own a house or have children. Get a PSA 10 Peachy Patrick Roy rookie card. You'll be doing just fine. Patrick Roy happened to win, 4 Stanley Cups, 2 with the Canadiens, 2 with the Avalanche, happened to win a Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year the same year he ended up winning the Stanley Cup for the Montreal Canadiens. Did you know Patrick Waugh, in his 4 Stanley Cup wins, won 3 Conn Smythe trophies? The most of any player that's ever played professional hockey. That's MVP in the finals. He happened to also do that on 2 different teams. No one's ever done that. He also happened to do it in 2 different decades, and no one's done that. Patrick Waugh, greatest ever. I don't care what you heard about Martin Brodeur. It's just not there. This guy basically invented the butterfly goaltending. He wouldn't step on the lines when he came out on the ice. He talked to the goalposts. He's a little eccentric, but it got the job done. Patty Waugh, PSA 8 over here, and you can see the bids are fast and furious. $580 American, you're looking $650, $700 easy Canadian. PSA 9s and 10s are egregiously expensive. We take a look at the pop count. Your total is just over 3,000 at 3,089 with still only 88 10s. It's going to be the centering that's still going to kill you on a lot of these cards, and they're just that soft cardboard. If it's not sharp and packed fresh, your odds of even anywhere near a 9 is pretty much non-existent. Raw for this, this is a not anything that was close to, this was looking close to a 7 to me. This was not anywhere near a 10. You're still probably paying about $120 American, about $150, $160 Canadian for a very presentable raw copy of Patrick Waugh's rookie card, and that to me seems very, very fair for the best damn goaltender that ever existed. I'm Cody for Big Beaver Cards. I thank you for joining us for our rookie retrospective of hockey cards from 1986-87. I would encourage you to go back and look at the back catalog of the rookie retrospective videos we've done previous to this and watch out for the ones of the future. The best way you could do that is by subscribing to the channel, turning on the notifications, and staying cool.